Hi, good afternoon. My name is Gladys Sanchez, and I am the WIOA Youth Career Advisor here in Pender County with the WIOA Title I Youth Program. I am co-hosting this presentation with Pender County Library, and today we're going to discuss youth work permits. So we're still on our mini job series, presentations, workshops on anything job related. And so today we're focusing on youth specifically, and for those who are looking for summer employment, if you're under the age of 18, you should obtain a work permit. So we're going to discuss how you can obtain yours. And if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. So youth under the age of 18 who work in North Carolina must have a youth employment certificate. We will discuss the step-by-step process on how to obtain a youth work permit. And so the very first step is you need to go to this website. It's called labor.communications. It's basically the Department of Labor website for North Carolina. And you can apply for a youth permit employment certificate. But the process to obtain the actual certificate is several steps. So we're going to discuss that. On the right-hand side, you can see an example. Basically, you can see the website. This is how it'll look like. NC Department of Labor at the top. It'll tell you welcome. It'll walk you through the instructions, and then you'll be able to fill in your information. And then once you submit your information, it'll ask you for your name, just basic information about yourself. You'll submit the form. So the form really should only take you less than 5 minutes. And after submitting, you will receive a Youth Employment Identification Number. So abbreviated, it's YEID. This number is not your work permit, nor does it give you permission to work. It is just an identification number. So once you have your youth identification number, you can go out onto the town or online and search for your job. If you already are looking, you already know you're going to have a job in the next couple of weeks, or let's say you have an interview for a grocery store or a fast food place in the next couple of weeks, and you are offered the job. Given your age, you can give your employer your youth employment identification number, and they will on their end complete the youth work permit process for you. And so like I mentioned, the youth identification number that you receive when you submit the form is not your work permit. You have to let your employer complete the process on your behalf. So what happens when, let's say, for example, I get a job at McDonald's for the summer. And I go and I get the job and I have my schedule and everything's going great. What happens with the work permit? So the employer, you will have to give your employer your youth identification and your youth employment identification number. And your employer, so for example, McDonald's, will have to go onto the same website that you went to, the North Carolina Department of Labor website, and submit a form similar to the form that you submitted. And there's a link for employers to go on there. It's a very self-explanatory website. The employer will fill out a form with your youth identification number, verifying your age, verifying your job duties, making sure there's nothing hazardous on the job, and they'll submit similar questions to what you did. Whenever the employer puts in your youth identification number and has submitted the form itself will automate an email that will be sent to your email as the youth that you will have to sign. And that is the actual work permit. So youth will need to sign their work permit electronically. You'll go in and sign, and then what happens after you sign? Once you sign, you will have to enter your parent's email address and hit submit. So what happens here, and we'll do a summary of this. Now the youth has signed your work permit, and the next and very last step will be your parent or guardian certificate signature. So the youth will need to enter their parent's guardian's email address when they're signing, and then the parent guardian will receive an email themselves where they will need to sign their certificate electronically as well. So to recap, the employer, the youth, and the parent guardian all have to sign the work permit in order for the youth to begin working. You can't just have the employer and the youth sign. You can't just have the youth and the parent sign. Every single party has to sign in order for that work permit to be valid. And so work permit granted. After youth and the parent guardian sign the certificate, the following will occur. And we kind of already went over this, but the employer will receive an email with a completed youth employment certificate. The youth employment certificate is now valid and complete. And very important is all steps discussed that we just discussed must be completed before the first day of work. You can't skip a step. You can't miss signatures. Let's say the youth and the parent signed, but the employer didn't sign, or vice versa. The employer and the youth signed, but the parent didn't sign. If you're missing a step, you technically cannot begin your first day of work. It has to be done before then. So a summary and a recap of what we just discussed about the youth work permit. It's a very simple process. It should really only take you between 5 to 20 minutes to do the obtaining of the youth employment identification number and the work permit. If you already have an employer, it should not take very long. You don't have to have a job lined up to apply for your youth employment identification number. You can go ahead and get that number now and look for a job later. You don't have to do that, with an employer at the same time. The youth, parent, guardian, and employer are all required to sign the work certificate before the first day of work. And then lastly, feel free to contact your local NCWorks Career Center to receive one-on-one assistance in applying for your youth work permit and to search for a job. Are there any questions?
Doesn't look like we have any in the chat. And I personally don't have any. I think we covered that extremely well.
Okay, great.
That's it.
Well, thank you, everybody. And if you just have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. My name is Gladys. I am the youth advocate with the local NCWorks Career Center, and I'm happy to work with youth that are looking for a job. And that is all that we have for today. So just thank you very much.